Hi, my name is Josephine Chanda from the Competition and Consumer Protection Commission. I'm a senior investigator in the Department of Restrictive Business Practices, and on today's episode, I'm going to talk to you about vertical agreements. What are vertical agreements? In the previous episode, you discussed or you learned about horizontal agreements, which involve players operating on the same level, and this is where cartels fall. On the other hand, we have what we call vertical agreements, which involve players or arrangements between players or businesses operating at different levels of the supply chain. An example would be a wholesaler and a distributor, or a manufacturer and a distributor. How do we define markets when analyzing vertical agreements? A critical component of our analysis is what we call market definition. When we're defining the market, we consider substitutability of a product, we consider the geographical market, and many other things. When analyzing vertical agreements, we have to consider two different markets. We have what we call the upstream market, where the manufacturer or wholesaler will be operating from, and we have what we call the downstream market, where the retailer or the distributor will be operating from. Each of those markets will have their own competitors, and the players within those markets will have their own shares. One issue of concern during market definition is the manufacturer or is the wholesaler holding 30% of the market share, or are they supplying 30% of their product to their market as a player on their own or combined? Because if they are, then they may be required to apply for authorization of their vertical agreement with the Commission. And when the Commission receives these applications, the Commission ensures to assess for any competition concern. So how does resale price maintenance impact market competition? Resale price maintenance is prohibited by the Act as a hardcore prohibition or a per se offense. It is common for players in the market, such as wholesalers or manufacturers, to recommend a minimum price or recommend a price, but it is prohibited to insist that retailers or distributors follow the recommended price. So, what compliance measures should suppliers adopt to avoid inadvertently imposing RPM? By clearly stating that the price being recommended is just a recommended price, and the retailers have the freedom to set the prices according to their cost structures. And one of the other things that suppliers can do is, in their language, they must use words like may, shall, and not enforce the price that they are recommending. Another thing that the suppliers can do is they can train their sales representatives to ensure that even as they recommend, even as they communicate the recommendation or the recommended price to the retailers, it is clearly stated as a recommendation. And lastly, suppliers can ensure that whatever internal policies they have are always aligned with the Commission's Act. How does the Commission distinguish between a genuine recommendation of resale price and a binding RPM? Number one, we will observe the wording. If the agreement or the contents of the agreement or the contract terms have words such as shall and must, then we will know that this could be retail price maintenance. Number two, we will observe the market. If the market tendencies or the market seems to be aligned and retailers have the exact same price all across the market despite having different cost structures, the Commission may observe and may assess and consider that this may be retail price maintenance. And number three, the Commission may look at evidence of correspondence or communication between the two players or the two parties to the vertical agreement, which may suggest or may even represent some sort of enforcement from the other player. What other supplier restrictions besides RPM does the Commission review case by case instead of prohibiting outrightly. So not all restrictions or agreements are prohibited outrightly. However, the Commission has certain agreements or exclusive agreements that they assess on a case-by-case basis. For instance, you can have exclusive distributorship, you can have what we call the non-compete clauses. Non-compete clauses are common where, say, a manufacturer ensures that a distributor signs that they will not copy the product that they are distributing. This is also common with employees. You can make an employee sign and say, if I've learned the recipe in a restaurant that I'm working, I'm not going to copy this same recipe and open my own restaurant within a specific period of time. The Commission can assess to see whether these agreements and these agreements are assessed on a case-by-case basis using the rule of reason. So how might fixing resale prices help retailers coordinate instead of compete? When retailers know that they have one fixed price, they know that they don't have to set any different prices. So this might actually help them coordinate and might serve as some sort of a cartel tool, which might even help them to collude because their prices are uniform. What indicators, apart from contract terms, show that resale price rules are binding? Number one, uniform prices, as earlier mentioned. Number two, we may observe that maybe the manufacturer or the wholesaler is constantly monitoring the distributor or the retailer. Why are they monitoring them? Why are they checking to ensure that the price that they recommended is the one that is being implemented? So that would be a reason for the Commission to consider that maybe this is actually retail price maintenance and not just a recommended price. Number three, we may see some sort of sanctions or retaliation. For instance, the wholesaler stops supplying the retailer, or the manufacturer just cuts down on the amount being supplied to the distributor. Those are some of the sanctions that we may see the wholesaler implementing if the retailer refuses to set the price at the recommended price. And lastly, we may receive complaints also from the retailers that are being forced to set the prices that are supposed to be recommended prices. So when have suppliers successfully argued that resale price rules were needed for valid business reasons? Sometimes suppliers may say they're introducing a new product and that new product needs to be known on the market. So there is need for some sort of uniformity or consistency in terms of price. Then wholesalers or manufacturers may argue that it is necessary to have a recommended price. And sometimes there may be arguments such as there has been innovation, there has been investment that needs to be protected. So in that case, the Commission will still have to assess to ensure that the consumer benefits outweigh any possible competition harm, and indeed the agreements do not cause significant or do not cause competition harm, do not restrict competition on the entire market. How does the Commission check if supplier imposed rules really improve choice or service? The Commission may examine whether the restriction actually improves innovation and efficiency as well as consumer access to the products. The Commission may also consult with stakeholders. The Commission may also analyze market data and also just ensure that the benefits are not just speculations, but that there actually are benefits that trickle down to consumer welfare. What does the Commission do upon suspicion of resale price maintenance? We can open a formal investigation. We can review the market to ensure that indeed there is conduct, and if we find that there is conduct, the players involved may face a fine of up to 10% of their annual turnover, and the Commission may also impose compliance orders on the players to ensure that they remain compliant with the competition laws under the Competition and Consumer Protection Act. I must mention and just reiterate as I conclude that when a player or if the two players in an agreement have a market share of 30% and more, or if a player or a manufacturer supplies a product that constitutes 30% or more of the market, they are required to apply for authorization of their agreement with the Commission. The reason being that the Commission would have to assess to look out for any sort of competition concerns and ensure that indeed we do not have any competition concerns. Thank you so much for watching, and goodbye for now.